The secret to following through on your goals is actually a lot easier than you might think. During the new year, we are all excited to set new goals. We get inspired by seeing all the goals everybody else is setting, and we're just ready to hit the ground running. But midway through the year, you might end up realizing you've completely forgotten about your goals, which means you've made no progress. We have all been there, and it's not the greatest feeling. But it doesn't have to be this way. And today, we're gonna talk about how to stay on track with your goals throughout the year. Hello and welcome to the final week of the Define Your Goals Challenge. I want to thank you so much for coming on this journey with me, and I can't wait for you to implement these tips to make this your best year yet. If this is your first week joining us, I would encourage you to come back after watching week 1 through 3 so that you have a foundation for your goals and are ready to talk about next steps. You can also drop into the description box below to sign up and get your free goal planning template in Notion. Today we are wrapping this challenge up in a pretty little bow and talking about the secret to following through with your goals throughout the year. The secret is not a difficult process at all. It's actually quite easy. And it is being willing to adjust your goals if they aren't working. Now you might be asking, how would I know how to do that? And the way I like to decide that is doing a quarterly review of your goals. The reason I love to do quarterly reviews is that a quarter is just long enough to have some time to work through your goal, but it's also been a while since we first set our goals, and it's really easy to get re-motivated when you start looking at your goals again. A quarter is also the perfect amount of time, at least in my opinion, to see whether or not a habit is working or whether a goal is just not aligned for your stage of life right now. The free goal planning template that comes with this challenge has built-in quarterly reviews already set up for you and ready to go. At the end of each quarter, you can open up the corresponding review to see all of the goals that you are going to be working on during that quarter and evaluate your progress with them. In these reviews, I like to include space to write my gratitudes and my accomplishments from that quarter. Be sure to write down any and all of your wins here because you want to take a moment to celebrate those. Then I like to look at what I did well. For example, if I've been really consistent with a habit, I like to write that down. Or if I stuck to a plan for one of my goals really well, I also like to note that. Then similarly, I also write down what I need to improve on. If I'm struggling to complete a habit, then I'll write that. Or if a goal is just not fitting into my schedule at the moment, I'll note that too. This is your moment to write anything big or small. These two sections are going to help you see patterns on what you tend to struggle with and what works really well for you. Next, we're going to note anything that needs to change based on what you wrote in the last two sections. Maybe you notice that it's time to try a different cue for one of your habits. Or maybe your plan of action needs a couple more steps to accommodate for a complication that you didn't anticipate. Whatever it may be sure to write it here. Then lastly, we're going to look ahead into the next quarter to see what goals you're going to be working on. Take some time to decide if these goals are still aligned to your life at the moment. Or maybe you need to make some new goals. If you want to see me work through my own quarterly review as an example, you can check out my Q1 review or my Q3 review from last year. I actually did not complete one of my goals from Q3 last year, so I do highly recommend watching that video because I did the process of adjusting that goal and then moving forward with it, so that is a good watch. To help you complete your quarterly review, I want to share a few places that I like to look to see where I'm doing well and where I'm doing not so well. First, I like to look and see how I'm handling my due dates for goal-related tasks. If it's time for me to complete a task and I do so very easily, then we are golden. But if a task comes due and I am constantly moving back the due date, not wanting to complete the task, then that might be a sign that I need to adjust the timeline for that goal. Usually there is a bit of a deeper reason behind this, so when it comes time to think about changes that you need to make for that goal, think about why you're moving the due date. Is it because you just don't have enough time at the moment, or are you missing the resources you need to complete that task? Really dig deep here because that's how you can decide when the best time to attack that goal again will be. Another place to look is the plan of action for your goal. Sometimes a task feels daunting to complete when you don't know where to start. So if you're having trouble there, try breaking down your plan of action into even smaller steps. That way, getting started feels a lot easier. I also like to take a look at my habits and routines. I evaluate these weekly, monthly, and quarterly. I shared my process for my weekly and monthly evaluations in last week's video, so do be sure to check that out. But when I take a quarterly look at my habits and routines, It's a lot less data-driven and more about how I'm feeling. Are my habits easy to complete? Have I packed my routine too full? Or is there any part of my routine that I just don't enjoy anymore? I always make note of these things in my quarterly review so that I can make necessary changes for next quarter. Sometimes that's changing my routine around or looking for new habit cues. This process can take a little bit of trial and error, so don't be afraid to try new things. Now, we can make as many changes as we want, but sometimes it's just time to say no to a goal. If you're constantly making adjustments and it still feels like an uphill battle, that might be the sign that it's time to quit. And this does not mean that you have failed. All this means is that you're opening up time to dedicate towards a goal that is more aligned for you. It can be easy to feel like you're disappointing others or disappointing yourself, but learning to prioritize what's important to you based on your interests and your values is a really important skill to have in life, and one that I wish I developed sooner. It is completely okay to take things off your plate if they are not aligned anymore. So be encouraged to pursue goals that set your heart on fire. That is how you're going to make this your most successful year yet. And with that, my friend, you have completed the Define Your Goals challenge. Your challenge now is to complete the quarterly reviews at the end of each quarter to help you follow through with your goals this year. I hope that this challenge has made you feel more organized and ready to tackle this year ahead, and that you had so much fun with it. I know that I have. In the coming weeks, I will be sharing my full updated Notion tour with you guys, so stay tuned for that. Have a wonderful year, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye, guys.